They said Battlefield was dead. Battlefield 6 just replied, hold my grenade. It has been 14 long years since I've genuinely been this excited for a Battlefield title. 14 years of waiting, hoping, and occasionally rolling my eyes as the franchise wandered into questionable territory. And yet, here we are, Battlefield 6 beta, or demo, or technical test, whatever you want to call it, has landed with a thunderclap. This feels like a reset button for the series, a line in the sand saying, this is the way forward. And judging by the reception so far, the gamble is actually paying off. Over 500,000 concurrent players on Steam alone, with console numbers almost certainly swelling that figure to something massive. And here we are on the second weekend of the beta, and it's still holding momentum instead of bleeding players. To be totally honest, I went in with my guard up. I wasn't really expecting much after the last few entries to the series. I think the series has lost its spark. I think it's obvious. So much so that I felt like it was drifting towards a chopping block. Because, as you know, EA has killed off franchises for far less. But this time the difference? None of the bizarre, meme-worthy bugs that used to plague open betas and were there to pull me off out of the immersion. Compared to janky launches of the past, this beta is almost suspiciously clean. Battlefield is so back. From the opening match, the message from DICE was loud and clear. This beta is an apology letter wrapped in chaos and explosions. I've been gaming long enough to have seen countless beta tests that were basically barely functional tech demos. But this might be the smoothest beta I've ever touched. The bug count is low, the software feels like it's already had months of polish, and the performance? Well, I'll just say it, it's excellent. Native resolution, smooth. Super sampling, still smooth. No weird frame pacing, no sudden frame drops, no crash to desktop moments, and no inexplicable hangs, and most impressively, no stutter even when the screen is full of players, vehicles, and particle effects fighting for dominance. In fact, if you line this up to the launch of versions of some past Battlefield titles, this beta would be more stable. I can remember Battlefield 4's launch date, and that was an infamous mess, and here I am playing Battlefield 6 in beta form thinking, yep, this could ship tomorrow and embarrass a few launches from the past. Now, performance is important, but gameplay is importanter. In here, Battlefield 6 hits the nostalgia button in a way I didn't think it could. It took me right back to the Battlefield 3 beta, where I was sitting behind the GeForce 8800 GTS at the humble 1360 by 768 resolution, chasing every frame I could get. Sure, nostalgia can only do so much heavy lifting if the gameplay underneath isn't good enough. No amount of rose-tinted memory is going to keep players around, but here's the thing. It is good. The pacing feels right, the flow is satisfying, and while certain aspects have evolved for smoother play, the core Battlefield DNA remains intact. But visually, it is a mixed bag. It doesn't feel like truly next-gen in a jaw-dropping way, I need to pause and admire the textures way. In fact, it feels like last-gen in spots, or 2 gens ago. The comparison to Battlefield 3 is actually hard to avoid, not just in style, but in color grading. It's that dense, tinted look from the PIS filter era, where everything has this subtle color crunch and a baked-in hue. And while that does give the game a certain nostalgic edge, it also muddles the clarity in firefights. The art direction, while competent, isn't doing the maps any favors here. I'd love a post-processing toggle or an optional color filter slider so I can strip that grading out entirely. Right now, target visibility can be tricky, especially in busy scenes where effects, props, and the background blend together with the player. The gunplay though, that's where the fun kicks in. It's instantly familiar if you've played past titles. Recoil exists and must be managed, but it's not overbearing. After a few minutes of play, you start feeling synced with your weapon. The guns have punch, they have weight for guns that need to have weight, or they feel light for guns that need to feel light, and they sound satisfyingly chunky. Customization is meaningful but restrained as well. There's a hard limit on what you can attach, with each upgrade costing points and weapons having a fixed point cap. No more throwing on every new attachment just because you unlocked it. You do have to make choices that fit your style of gameplay. In the movement though, oh yes, dive jumping returns, sliding is now in, and they're not just gimmicks. They actively shape close quarters battle, as a perfectly timed slide can take you past a corner where somebody is holding it, flipping the fight in your favor with speed and unpredictability. This interplay between movement and gunplay adds a layer of tactical freedom that wasn't present before in the older Battlefield 3 and 4. And also this movement adds a few other things, like you can pick up somebody and drag them to safety so you can revive them. You as a squad member can revive other squad members as well. So this is pretty useful for medics. So medics, that means we need to talk about classes, and class changes are perhaps the most interesting shakeup. We still have the 4 classics, so the Assault, the Engineer, Supports, and Recon, but the roles have somewhat shifted. Assault is no longer the medic, now it's a pure aggressive class with shotguns and grenade launchers. It's perfect for breaking points, but comes with limited ammo, forcing cooperation with your team because you do need to get supplied. Support is now the medic, carrying the defib but also ammo packs, effectively merging 2 older roles into one more versatile support powerhouse. The pack they drop gives you health and also ammo. Engineers and Recon remain mostly familiar, but the wildcard twist is that any class can now wield any primary weapon. Do you want to run LMG as a medic like you did in Bad Company 2? Go ahead, you can do that. Recon with LMG as well, pushing into contestant points with spawn beacons and radar. It's also entirely possible. This flexibility is refreshing, though I wouldn't be surprised if certain weapons become class exclusive in future balance patches. There is one downside, but it is visual, and the classes are hard to distinguish at a glance. Gone are the days of Battlefield 3 instantly recognizable silhouettes. I think that game nailed class design, and frankly, nothing since has stopped it. You can fight me on the comments over this. Vehicles also deserve mention. The tanks and LEVs can remain game changers when used well, when used with the synergy with engineers and when you have support, but they are not invisible. If you don't have your engineer buddy, your armor is toast in seconds. If you have a couple of engineers shooting against your tank, or if you have recon doing recon stuff and saying Leroy Jenkins and throwing C4 into your tank is gone. The armor fighting throw me back to Battlefield 3 and 4. It works very much in the same way, but there's one thing that completely frustrates me, which will be the sensitivity disparity between the first and third person view. There's a change here that really didn't need to happen, since Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 perfectly handled it. So one last point, that will be the maps, and in my opinion they are mixed bag. Siege of Cairo and Iberian Offensive evoke modern Middle East warfare with a satisfying blend of ranged combat and brutal close quarters infantry. Liberation Peak offers a classic conquest experience with strong verticality and heavily contested capture points. But Empire, I'll be blunt, it's a really bad map. It borrows the weakest traits from Battlefield 3's Aftermath maps without capturing any of their charm or personality. It's totally forgettable and not worth my time. Most of these maps, except for Empire, because screw that map, most of these maps will work well with Conquest, Domination, Rush, or Breakthrough. They work really well, they're more or less well balanced, and they require a lot of gameplay. But once again, Empire can burn. I do have one thing that I wanted to point out. Between weekend 1, so last week as I'm writing this, and this weekend we're running into, something changed in the netcode. Now I'm occasionally, actually more than occasionally, getting hit after ducking into cover, which didn't happen before. Either DICE made a silent adjustment in the netcode, or I've suddenly developed a bad case of "I swear I was behind that wall" syndrome. So, at the end of the day, speaking as someone who has been with this series since Battlefield 1942 and played a lot of Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 6 feels like the franchise kind of rediscovering its identity. It does have the chaos, the synergy between classes, satisfaction of pulling crazy maneuvers with friends. It's all here. It's been quite a while since I've said to myself, you know, I'm just gonna do one more. Battlefield, it's not just alive, it's dangerous again, and I think I found my shooter for the next couple of years.